There it goes. Before I jump in, just a little bit about me. I've been involved in the tech space for a very long time. I started my first company, T35 Hosting, in 1997. The company that I have now with my younger brother is SmartSites, that we started a little bit over 11 years ago. So we've been in business over 11 years. We have over 300 full-time employees. As a company, we actually double in size every 18 months. So ever since we started pretty religiously, every 18 months we double in size. So 18 months from now, we're going to be at 600 employees and so forth. So I've been doing this the digital marketing, technology, website stuff for a very long time. And I hope to kind of distill some of the best practices of what we've been doing as a company and what I've been doing personally into this session for you guys today. Again, a little bit too far away. So today we're going to talk about digital trends since the pandemic, how to navigate the ever-changing landscape in digital, and then I'm going to go through a client case study where we were able to apply SEO, pay-per-click, and CRO, and I'm going to walk you through the things we did to help our client grow their revenue, and then I have key takeaways at the end. All right, so digital trends since the pandemic. So this is e-commerce penetration. This is US, so most of these slides are going to be US-centric, but what's been going on in the US is very reflective of everywhere else with the pandemic. This is percent of e-commerce penetration. So this is a percent of what total retail was happening online over the last couple of years, and you can see the huge jump as the pandemic started. So it's since flattened out. It came down a little bit. It flattened out and it came down a little bit, but the pandemic really accelerated the amount of time people spend online, the amount of purchases they spend online. People who before were not comfortable purchasing online all of a sudden were consumers were purchasing things online that they weren't before. For example, now all of a sudden people are buying cars online and things that were not popular before. So really, the pandemic, as you could see, accelerated the growth that we've been having over the last 15, 20 years in the e-commerce space to really unprecedented levels. There's a lot of stats I have up there, but just like I was saying, things really have changed a lot. People are purchasing much more online. They're using their mobile devices to purchase online a lot more. 49% of consumers said they would shop online more frequently after the pandemic was over. So a lot of these consumer trends that were pushed by the pandemic are really sticking, even if they're not at a level that they were during the pandemic. They're still sticking around to some extent. At the same time, this is our own internal data. This is the average cost per click on Google for the e-commerce vertical. So at the same time, consumers are spending more time online, but e-commerce to advertise online has obviously gotten a lot more expensive. And this data is from 2 years ago, but even over this four-year period, I looked at 4-year period, the cost per click to advertise e-commerce on Google doubled. So, and since then, this is again 2 years old, since then it's actually continued to go up as the pandemic drove more and more people to shop online and more companies to advertise online. So you have these changing consumer trends, people are buying things online more often, but at the same time you have these headwinds from an advertising perspective. So the challenge for our client here was, that I'm going to go through a case study for, was how do we acquire new customers for a client and ensure profitability. I'll walk you quickly through this case study, and you can kind of see what we did for them and see if it applies to what you guys are doing. So in this case, our client was Koozie Craze. They make the koozies, like the things for beer cans that you put into, if that makes sense. And they make them lots of different varieties, obviously for weddings, for everything. They have one for every occasion. The struggle they had when they came to us, and see if you guys can relate to some of this in the e-commerce space, is frequently their ads and feeds were disapproved and suspended. Google, Facebook, with all these different platforms are always kind of whack-a-mole, trying to like fix a suspension here, add disapproval here. They didn't have a cohesive messaging between platforms because they operated them really in silos. So Google Ads would operate separately, Facebook Ads was separate, and the messaging wasn't really cohesive between them. There's not optimization for top products or audiences. They had issues with the tracking pixels and conversion data, and they were really not doing much in terms of remarketing or bringing customers back. So our solution in this case was the three-pronged approach, the PPC, SEO, and CRM, and CRM being email marketing for those that are not as familiar with that term as pay-per-click and SEO. And I'll walk you through the 3 different stages here. For pay-per-click marketing, this is actually an internal slide that we present in terms of what we actually do for pay-per-click. So the reason I put it up here is because not a lot of people realize that we have all these components in pay-per-click advertising, being of course Google Ads centric, but pay-per-click advertising they should be doing on an ongoing basis. So once you set up the account, once you have things running, these are all the things you need to be doing on an ongoing basis. You have to keep doing keyword analysis. You have to do A/B testing on an ongoing basis, right? Tracking, reporting. So this is kind of our internal account maintenance past the setup, right? You have to make sure it's set up. You have to make sure you have conversions. But then on an ongoing basis, you really have to be doing these things. And we find that a lot of clients who don't use an agency, who might be doing things internally, usually neglect a lot of these. So with the strategy for this client specifically, we focused on obviously relevant keywords, audiences, and ads. We want to target the right consumer at the right time, right? If you're targeting a consumer that's in market for your product, but they just bought it 2 weeks ago, they're not there at the right time. So you want to make sure you're targeting the right consumer at the right time. You want to go after not only the bottom funnel searches when someone's actually searching for a product, we have to go upper funnel to start to build those consumers into possible clients. We optimize our product feeds, and of course, personalized remarketing is also very important. This is how it looks on the pay-per-click per side. So this is Google Ad centric, but it doesn't necessarily have to be focused on the discover. So these are consumers that are just discovering the product, the brand, right? We focus to make sure that we convert and win the initial sale. And then there was a lot on the remarketing side to keep them coming back and sharing and purchasing more. The next part is SEO. So SEO, I do a keynote on SEO, which is 2-3 hours long in itself. So here I'm going to try to kind of dilute it down into a quick 3 to 5 minute snapshot. But SEO, for those that are familiar with it, actually there's 2 parts to SEO, and this is again very Google centric. But at the top you have Google Maps, at the bottom you have local organic results. Does that make sense for people? When you search, you usually wind up with the maps and then looking at local organic results. For each one of those, there's definitely different ranking factors that impact how well you rank, and I actually have them up there. It's obviously Google doesn't share these, so the way we have this information is there's actually an organization of a lot of SEO professionals that get together and internally themselves put together this data, which ranking factors they're seeing. So this is as close as we're going to get to Google's actual algorithm that they use to determine how well you rank for things. And this gets updated every year. This one's fairly new. I think the last time they updated it was a couple months ago. So at the top for your Google Maps, how well you will rank on Google Maps is determined by, no surprise there, that your Google My Business profile is number 1. Number 2 is reviews. So it's the quality and the quantity of your reviews, of course, but it's also the content of your reviews. People don't usually realize, and I guess it's one of those things that you don't have as much control about, but the content of your reviews is part of the ranking factors for Google. So for example, you're a coffee shop and you have Brazilian coffee, right? And you want to start ranking on Google for Brazilian coffee. A lot of people in your reviews are saying, oh, these guys have amazing Brazilian coffee. You'll start ranking for Brazilian coffee just because of the content of the reviews. Of course, you can't make your consumers leave specific reviews versus other reviews, but it's important to know that that's a ranking factor as well. After that is on-page and links. So those are the 2 big ones that I'll discuss in the next section. But on-page is the quantity and quality of your content, as well as technical fixes on your website. Links is how many other websites link to you, and then the other factors are a little harder to control. You have behavioral, citation, and the lowest one is personalization. So that's for Google Maps. That's this section. For the second section, the localized for organic results. So if you're a physical store, you'll usually focus on both of these. If you are not a physical store and you don't have a physical location, these become even more important. And then if you're in an industry that restricts paid advertising, which a lot of them do, Google changes it from time to time, but for example, CBD products are restricted on Google Ads, right? Or cryptocurrencies are restricted on Google Ads. If you're in an industry where your products are restricted on Google Ads, this becomes your number one most important source of a business, and a lot of people really don't give enough credit. So for the localized results in the bottom, number one is on page, so very similar to the above. Obviously, for Google Maps, your Google My Business profile and reviews are more important. But after that, the on-page and links, again, become very important. Here they make up 65%. And at the bottom, you have Google My Business profile and reviews as well. Does all of that make sense? Cool. Same data, looking at it different ways. So as an agency that we do SEO for thousands of clients on an ongoing basis. Obviously, we focus on all of these since they're all important, but the ones boxed off in red are the most important, really where you should focus your time. For organic results, that's on-page and links. So it's all about creating content and getting websites to link to you. It's really as simple as that. So a good way to think about it is that every page of content you create gives you an opportunity to come up on Google search results. If you don't have that content, you don't have the opportunity. For example, back to a coffee shop example, if you want to rank for Brazilian coffee, if you create a page about Brazilian coffee beans that you use, that page actually will have the opportunity to show up in Google results. If you never create that page, it won't show up no matter how authoritative you are. And then the second part is links. The more websites that link to you and you want them to be relevant websites, back in the day, there was a lot of black hat where you would get like thousands of links from spammy blog posts and stuff, right? All that is over. Google does a really, really good job at really focusing on quality. And obviously, their focus is on the user experience, and they want to show the most relevant, authoritative results. So you want to make sure the links you're getting and websites that link to you are themselves authoritative in Google's eyes, and of course, they need to be relevant as well. So for this specific client, these are the things we focused on the SEO perspective. We created a fun, SEO-friendly blog. We did link building to increase their search rankings. We used embedded product links in blog posts to increase conversions. And then we optimized SEO on the SEO content on the product and category pages. So for e-commerce, a lot of people really don't focus enough on, they create a blog and they do blog content, right? But they don't focus enough on the product and category pages. And what I mean by that is if you're an e-commerce company website that sells socks, for example, right? So you have a page for black socks and white socks, and that's it. If you start creating different category pages, different product grouping pages, for example, you create a holiday collection, right? You'll actually start ranking for holiday socks. So you're not necessarily changing your product. Instead of having like one page of 50 products, you now could create categories. You could create a black and blue color. I don't know, for some holiday, you could do different colors. You could do different packs, right? Around Christmas time, people like to buy them as gifts, so you could create packs. So it's literally just creating these category pages, and you really should think about what people are searching for to create them. That almost natively will give you more SEO traffic. And this is some of the results that with us working on SEO. So this is a third-party tool to check how many websites link to you. So we built up their links from almost nothing to 250 domains linking to them. And this is just a quick check of how many index pages they had in Google. And obviously, we didn't create all of them. A lot of them are product pages, but they wound up having over 2,000 pages indexed in Google. By the way, if you guys don't know that trick, if you go to google.com and you do site, and then do semicolon in your domain, it'll show how many pages are indexed in Google, and you can actually see your pages that are indexed in Google. Third piece is CRO and email marketing. So email marketing is all about these 4 pillars: acquisition, conversion, post-purchase, and retention. So with email marketing, we focus on preventing abandoned carts with on-site incentives. We retain the visitors that came there. Obviously, you already paid money to bring that visitor there. You should do as much as you can to retain that visitor. And then we improved the Shopify tech stack by implementing third-party add-ons that improve their conversion rates. So this is how it worked. This is the email marketing side. This is how it worked on the different pillars: convert, retain, and grow. Focus on different messaging, different ways to bring people back that they're shopping. Really, it's like internally it's a CRO product for us, right? But it's CRO/email marketing. But this worked really, really well. So the results for this client. This is after 12 months of 12 months of work, and this is without increasing ad spend. So ad spend actually, I think even decreased a little bit or stayed the same, but revenue increased 152%, conversion rate improved 27%, average order size increased 28%, and return on ad spend rate increased 117%. So, and all of this with just 4% increase in sessions. So a lot of times people focus on just bringing more visitors to a website. This is just an example of doing more with the visitors you're bringing, bringing better visitors, right? And then doing more with the visitors you're bringing. Click. Too much clicking. Did I go too far? This is kind of summary and takeaways, right? For e-commerce, and I think this applies not just to e-commerce, but in this example, e-commerce presentation, you really need an omni-channel approach for pay-per-click and SEO. You need to create one cohesive, unified message and experience across multiple platforms. You need to unify and optimize your customer and product data, simplify the checkout process, and then retarget to keep your high-value customers coming back. Does that make sense for everyone? I think that was my last slide. Cool, so if you guys want to connect, you could actually, with your phone, that'll go to my LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, but I'll also open it up to questions. Questions. Yes?
From the simplify the checkout process.
Yes.
Do you try, how would you simplify the checkout process, or how do you work? For example, we have Shopify Pro, and we're able to customize it. We haven't played too much with it, but for example, I heard people using Visual Website Optimizer to completely change that or do some different testing. What would you recommend would be like a good testing?
Yeah, so the first step should always be to make it as simple as possible. I've seen some websites, and I'm sure you have also, not even yours, but you land on them like on your cell phone. Like fill out, like I was looking for landscape architect for my house at home. I was clicking on websites, I landed on a website, and I wanted to fill out contact form, so I pressed contact. And it was like 18 fields to fill out. I'm sitting there on my cell phone in the evening. I'm like, there's no way I'm filling out 18 fields. So I think first step would be from a consumer perspective, try to go with yourself and see what can we take out. If you want an example, Amazon's always the best example. They by far, they invented the one-click checkout, and they try going through their experience and see what you could learn from that. And after that, it's testing. And it takes time. It's unfortunately, it's...
Do you recommend a specific platform or anything like that?
If you want to grab my business card and follow up, I'll check with my team. So we have a lot of different third-party vendors and platforms that we integrate with and use, and we have people whose only job is to research best partners and vendors. So for sure, shoot me an email. I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anyone else? Questions? Yes.
For CRM, I was found it's just clunky to segment the customers as they go through the funnels, right? Do you have any tips, tools, and so on?
It shouldn't be clunky. It depends, I guess, what platform you use. Are you using Shopify or what are you using? Shopify. There's third-party tools and integration to make it easier. Just even going through Google Analytics, you'll probably find some tidbits on who you should be focusing on. But yeah, I'll also give you a business card. I don't live in the e-commerce world day to day, so if you shoot me an email, I'll just check with my team. But it should not be. I know a lot of times it is, but it should not be clunky. And your audience is a very good place to start of who to target. Like people who are not buying, or people who bought recently, but it's time to buy. Like those kind of things like in this case, you could increase the money you're making from your current audience. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, thank you, everyone. Feel free to take a picture. We do SEO business here.
Also, right,
The main websites, the easiest way to explain it
as
is.
you were talking about Shopify, so at first I was thinking that you were like competitor.
Yeah, so we make websites and promote websites is the
Okay.
is the